At the intersection of restoration and hard work, you're going to find a person who cares. They care about the environment. They care about history, craftsmanship, preservation. They care about saving money.
Forget it.
I'm cheap? You think I'm cheap?
In this restoration compilation video, I'm going to briefly show you each of the last 15 projects I've restored. Welcome to Alley Picked. First up, this long 3.5-inch thick wood slab, broken on one end, gaps all over the surface. I got this from a friend, and at first I really didn't even want it. It was just too big. I wasn't even sure how I was going to repair it, let alone refinish it. I reluctantly took it, and boy, am I glad I did. After some cleaning, gluing, sanding, I decided to use an epoxy finish with a tint of metallic blue as the first coat to fill in all the gaps in the wood surface. I then took my hand planer and sander to smooth out the surface. Then I applied a natural stain to soak in and treat the wood. This brought out the natural beauty of the wood. Lastly, I applied a coat of clear epoxy and the amazing transformation was complete. There's only one place to call home for this work of art, and that's a log cabin. This is a banker's chair from the late 1930s. Can you even imagine buying a chair today and 80 years later, someone is still using it? Structurally, the chair is sound. After many, many hours of sanding and staining, here's how it looked before and after my restoration. Here's an end table that someone tossed in the alley trash. What attracted me most was the stained glass panel on the front. There's also a light bulb mounted underneath to illuminate the stained glass. Most of the wood was so badly damaged that I had to rebuild everything except for the 4 legs. This is by far my favorite restoration to date, an original William Morris chair. This was left for dead on the front lawn for days before I came along and took it for free. This was missing 2 cushions, missing some metal supports and brackets which I had to fabricate. The wood claw feet were broken. The finish was a disaster. After doing a lot of tedious sanding and finishing, I brought the chair to the upholsterer for a couple of leather cushions to be made. I was so excited when I got the call that the chair was ready. This was fantastic. A restoration that I could be most proud of. A team effort in bringing this one back to life.
This world was never meant for one as beautiful as you.
This was a fun project. There's one obvious upcycling choice for this, a sitting bench. I got this newspaper stand from the same guy, Shannon, who sold me the large slab coffee table. After I finished this project, Shannon loved it so much that he bought it back for me. Of course, not for the same price. I could have just slapped down a 2x12 for the seat, but I knew that would warp eventually as it dried out. Instead, I ripped the boards into smaller widths and flipped over each piece. I then glued them up, planed them down for a smooth finish. Then I applied some outdoor marine varnish, and this thing should last a good long time as it stands up against the elements. This was a smaller restoration project. Most people probably would have just cleaned it, waxed it, and left the aged patina look. I, however, think the better solution is to restore it and see what it must have looked like when it was new. The grooves and spindles were a bit tedious to remove all the old stain and finish. I mixed a couple of different oil-based stains to try and match the original color. I replaced the mirror with one that I salvaged. All the pegs were loose and that was an easy fix. Another restoration in the books. So this is the church that I attend, Mount Olive Church in Chicago. Now, over the summer last year, the roof on this section over here started to leak. I made a couple of attempts to repair it, but it was still dripping inside after a heavy rain. So in order to fix the leak, I had to cut a hole inside the ceiling here, inside this building, to see if I could figure out where the leak was coming from. I had no idea that what I would find up there would lead to my next restoration project. This is an original brass light that was mounted on the outside of this church in 1927. It got covered up when they added a new office addition. Someone painted over it with a leather brown color. I took it over to my buffing wheel, rewired it, and gave it a coat of wax. The original probably had a glass dome or housing over the bulb. I just popped in an Edison bulb to see what it must have looked like when it was first installed. Wicker chairs are often tossed into the garbage when they develop holes. This one is for a customer who has more like it and just wanted this one repaired. I never did caming before, so there's no time like the present to learn. While everything is apart, I might as well remove the old finish. And now for the recaming. If you want more details on this process, or for that matter, any of the restorations in this video, I'll have links in the video description for all the full-length restoration videos. I was driving by an estate sale, stopped in, and saw this pine table for only $10. At first, I walked right past it, but then I wondered what it looked like under all of that paint. Curiosity got the best of me, and before you knew it, I was unloading it from my car. I often find things in the garbage that I just happen to need. So it was with this medicine cabinet. The one I had in a spare bathroom was made from press board and it was badly damaged. This one will be an upgrade. This old sewing machine was a real test of my skills. It was in basement floods, veneer was peeling off, it had a split all the way up the side. The bottom was even missing. If this were mine, I would have salvaged a few parts and upcycled it into something different. But this belonged to a customer who wanted to save this piece because it belonged to her grandfather, who was a tailor. This came out great, and better than I could have ever expected. This alley-picked stool probably should have just stayed in the alley, but as a challenge to myself, I wanted to see if there was any hope to restore something that was so badly damaged. Now, it's hard to believe that this is the same stool. I paid $10 for this farmhouse table with a broken leg and porcelain top from an estate sale. The way that this leg broke along the grain made it a good candidate for re-gluing. It was also missing a drawer, so I made one using some old scrap pine wood. I'll scuff up the country blue paint to give this a weathered look. This style for me is usually hit or miss, but I'd say this one was a hit. This alley pick chair appealed to me because I wanted to try my hand at reupholstering one. A couple of the joints needed to be re-glued. I stripped off the old finish and then gave it a fresh coat of stain, followed by a few coats of polyurethane. Now one can appreciate the beautiful oak wood, and it's a really nice, comfortable chair. I paid a whole $5 for this toddler-sized bench. The good thing about these benches is that the cast iron frame lasts forever. They usually just need to be cleaned up and maybe a bit of rust treatment. After all the wood gets replaced, this thing looks better than new. If you can appreciate all the hard work and effort that went into each one of these projects, I'm hoping you can do me a favor and do a little work yourself by hitting the subscribe and like buttons. I'm Tom, and thanks for watching Alley Picked.